Okay, this is going to be about our character generator, which is a separate computer that we built with HDMI outputs. This got dual HDMI, one going to the Blackmagic switcher and one going to the monitor that you see in front of you. And so actually in this case, it goes to an HDMI distribution amplifier, so it can go to multiple sources, but you get the idea. This is basically HDMI. What you see is what you get. Now on the Google Slides, and you can watch the switcher video, what we're doing is, and it's funny that the autofocus didn't like that. On the Google Slides, what we're doing is keying out the black through the Blackmagic switcher, because a regular computer doesn't have an external key output, so this is one way of doing it. What that means is that if you want a drop shadow like you see here around Prey 16, it can't be pure black. If it's pure black, it'll get keyed out. So we don't want that. We don't want the drop shadow to be keyed out, so it has to be a shade of grade. So what you do is basically you compose your slides in here, you hit present. And the nice thing about this, and let's see if I can bring it up over itself. That'd be interesting. There, I brought it up over the picture I'm recording. You'll see that the black has been keyed out. I hit downstream keyer 2, auto. You could have downstream keyer 1, 2 on the switcher. See, it's coming up, and then you can hit cut. Anyways, this isn't going to be how to use Google Slides, but in Google Slides you can import pictures, and you're basically doing like a PowerPoint slideshow. You'll see me scrolling through the left here. When you hit present, you'll notice this escape full screen shows up. So, but then it goes away after that, and so does your mouse. So you got to kind of preload and watch that. Now I'm just using the arrow key on the keyboard, and I'm cycling through my slides. This could be over the air, and I can do it over the air. We'll take it over the air right now. I'm using the arrow key to go back and forth between the slides. So you get all your slides set up before the show. Now, if you want to show a full screen slide, which I don't think this show has a full screen slide. So let's go to a different show. Now, these are stored in the Google Drive. You have to have a Google account and load. Now this is a behind the scenes program, so it'll load up here. Now in this case we use full screen. So when showing a full screen, and I'll show here, there's a full screen, okay? When showing a full screen, and let's not to be confusing you here, because this really isn't showing us what we need. Okay, here's how the monitor looks, okay? That's full screen. All right, when you hit present. Now, if I were to hit key, like you've seen me do in the past, the downstream keyer, and I don't know if I can show that. If I hit key, in this case, that's the kind of slide we want to key, which is what they call lower thirds. But on the full screen, and there's no pure black in here, what normally happens is you will see it come through. So, to make a long story short, and I'll pan over here, when I'm going full screen, I call the CG up on preview, and then you switch to it directly for full screen. So here's the full screen presentation, not that one. Now that one, I would have had to switch back and key it. But normally, like if you're walking, it'd be like PowerPoint. Full screen walkthrough, dun, 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 dun. Or you could bring these up in the show as an individual. But to do that, and let's come back. But to do that, I switch on preview, you see it here, to the character generator directly. Now, the only time I key is not on a full screen graphic, because remember I'm keying out black. Let's go back there. That's the kind of graphic that we want to key with the downstream keyer. So we hit the downstream keyer, and there you go. So that was a simple explanation of what's happening with Google Slides and the character generator. Now, it could very well be PowerPoint or a different program running. It would do the same thing. But the nice thing about Google Slides is you can compose these slides on a different computer because it's stored on the Google Drive. So you can actually do, it's like working in the cloud type work. And then I wanted to mention one more quick item. We use the Google Drive to keep track of all of our, on this computer, we keep track of all of our shows as spreadsheets. So like there's behind the scenes, you have the record time, the title, and air times, guests, and so on. That's the role of that computer. And another use of this computer during the show is this would be the one that you would get on the internet, you know, to check your email or do anything. Because remember, these other computers, that guy's role in life is to do Google Slides, and it has one other function. It becomes a photo viewer for over there. For example, you can hit slideshow. Here's an album of pictures that we created. So we hit slideshow, and then I hit pause. Got to hit pause. Now you'll see I have a photo slideshow taking place here now. Back and forth, built right into Windows. Now, since this computer, I wouldn't use the key function now. Since this computer is hooked, let's go back. Okay, since this computer is hooked directly into here, I would use the take button, or I could use an effect. I could dissolve to it. Now I'm using the arrow buttons on the keyboard to go through my slideshow. And then after the slideshow's over, or after you're done showing it, then you can go back to your camera. The advantage of this is you can do all this in post-production, editing on the timeline. But the way this is set up, you can also do it during the show. And in theory, unless there's a mistake, the whole show is complete when the show's over, because you've rolled the open and close from the play record computer, and you've shown the slideshows and graphics during the show, and you've timed it out with the timer there, so the whole show is intact when it's over. And then it goes over to master control. Or you can record segments, take it to the editing timeline, and do it that way. So you're set up to go both ways here. That's it for this video.